talking about teaching from your strengths. And Frank, I know you got this little group in the FML hierarchy of the real men cry during presentations groups. I might join that today. Who knows? There we go. So guys, it's my beautiful family. I'll tell you a little bit about me. You know, I got into the financial services industry because I grew up watching my parents struggle to make sense of money. See, they both emigrated to Canada completely on their own. They came with very little, and their only resource was the banks. They had nobody else to teach them the who's and what's and do's and don'ts of money. In fact, when I was born, where we grew up was the hood. I don't know if anybody knows Jane and Wilson. There you go. Right? And you know what? Hearing gunshots at night, that was a normal thing. In fact, the building I lived in had 2 security guards, and their sole job is to tell you which areas of the building not to visit. So they'd always tell us, don't go into the parking garage at night because that's where the prostitutes and the pimps hang out. Don't go into the stairwell at night, that's where all the drug dealers hung out. And the fact that that was all that they could do kind of showcases, you know, the type of area that we grew up in. And, you know, watching my parents trying to make ends meet, putting a roof overhead, food on our table, it led me to believe that life was all about living to work and working to live, and that was all there was to it. And it wasn't until we got to a better area, we moved out of Toronto, we went down to Mississauga, that's actually where I got to see that there was more that you could do with your time and money as long as you had financial literacy, right? If you knew how to save money, invest it, leverage debt to move you forward, those were the keys. And, you know, it led me to say, okay, well, you know what, if I possess this financial literacy, one day I can make $100,000. For me, making $100,000 was the equivalent of, you know, making $1 million, right? It was the golden dream. I wanted to hit that 6-figure mark, and I believed that that was going to lead me to live like the wildest life I could possibly imagine. And you know what, for me, it was more of a symbol of not just financial success, but more of a symbol of breaking through the constraints of my upbringing, right? But that burning desire, right, it fueled me to throughout the jobs I had. It made me want to be the best I could be from a young age. I always had this desire and this strive to win. And it gave me a vision and a dream to follow, goals to set. You know, it added to my why. And guys, I talk about teaching from your strengths. Well, you know what, my upbringing, that was a strength, right? I honor that every single day because that upbringing allows me to be who I am today. Right? And here's what I learned from this, right? I learned through my upbringing the value of ambition, determination, perspective. I learned that regardless of where you start from or your circumstances, it's important to set aspirations, right? And I learned that dreams fueled by determination and hard work, they have the potential to reshape our lives and open doors to opportunities that seem distant. Now, part 2, I grew up a bit. I grew up a bit. That was the best picture I could find from that era. But a lot of you know me as a previous mechanic, previous banker. Here's what I wanted to be known as, actually, growing up. I wanted to be a microbiologist. I actually wanted to be a virologist, more specifically. I wanted to work and help find cures for diseases and just really get into the whole science field. That was actually my dream. I really felt that that was my way to make an impact on this world. And I shared that dream with everyone, but not only did I share it with everyone, I also took in everyone's criticisms, right? I allowed myself to be talked out of pursuing science because it was really hard to get into the program at U of T, and because there was a lack of jobs in the field, and then the fear that I'll have to work at Walmart to pay off student debts, and yada, yada, yada. But everything happens for a reason, right? Look at us now, right? So I went to Plan B, cars. For those that know me, they know I have a massive, massive passion when it comes to vehicles, cars. You know, Frank loves showing this little meme of this girl in a little race car just spinning around in circles and claims it's me drifting in the wintertime. But, you know, I dreamt of now, okay, well, let's see what I can do. So I wanted to own my own performance shop. So I went to school to be an automotive service technician, and then later I took a marketing course, and I knew that as long as I was doing something I loved and was passionate about, I was going to succeed, right? And this time period in my life taught me that despite what external pressures I'm facing, I should stay true to my personal passions and ambitions, right? That's what's going to get me to where I need to be. and that while circumstances can influence my decisions, pursuing genuine dreams leads to fulfilling paths and leads to fulfilling paths. All right, there's another blast from the past right there. If I didn't get your angles right, babe, I'm sorry. She's picky about that. Me, I'm like, hey, throw me up there. Just, yeah. So guys, then I got scouted by one of the oldest banks in Canada. Its initials were BMO, for those that know. They told me that a career in finance was going to help me become financially successful. Remember, I was chasing the bag. I was chasing that $100,000 bag. So it immediately appealed to me. I'm like, okay, maybe there's something here. But not only that, I was told that I was going to get a financial education, that I was going to be able to help others understand finances, and that I knew and that I was going to be in the corporate world, and I had the ability to make an amazing income and grow with the company. So a lot of you can already tell that probably didn't happen, right? Guys, when I started off making $33,000 a year, and 6 years later, I was making $42,500 a year, right? Great income, right? In fact, when I left the bank, I knew just a little bit more about money than when I started. I just had a more intimate understanding with what was going on in the banks, but other than that, that was it. So the bank was, at the end of the day, the bank was only interested in teaching me how to sell debt. And when it came time for me to try and help my clients understand their money just a little bit more, I started to get in trouble for that, right? I was told that I wasn't getting paid for sitting down and having conversations about people about financial literacy, but more getting paid for meeting my targets and quotas every month. And I actually got written up 6 times, and I was told, on the last time, I was told that if I wanted to do something other than selling debt, I had to leave, right? And that I was going to be fired with cause. So I started searching again, and I knew that this part of the finance world exists. Then there must be a part where they're actually doing what I wanted to do, right? I wanted to help people. So I joined my practice company and quickly came to realize that it was much the same thing. We were pushing products, it was the commission over the mission, it was still profits over people. In fact, I was no better there than when I was at the bank. But what I learned was my career choices had to be aligned with my personal values, meaningful impact, and genuine contribution. I learned that I had to be vigilant with staying true to my ideals, even when I'm faced with the pressure of things like targets and quotas, and not letting it come in the way of making a difference. And I also learned that I had to be open to consider new directions to get to my overall goal when the current path doesn't align. Now, in between BMO and Sun Life, I met somebody. That's my wife, for those that don't know, Sophie. It's a blast from the past yet again. My wife, she gave me the reason to believe. She opened my eyes to different experiences, different ways of thinking. She also added to my reason why. Until then, I was only in it for myself. I now had another reason, a drive to continue pushing. I'll tell you this, I'm very confident that if it wasn't for my wife, I wouldn't be here today. See? When I was approached by Sun Life, I had to pay a $400 registration fee to get my license and what have you. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, $400, that's a lot of money. Like, it is a lot of money, but at the end of the day, at that point in time, it was a lot of money. And, I was telling Sophie about it. I just had a little interview and what have you. And, the next day she showed up with an envelope with $400, and she's like, this is a gift. If you pay it back, you pay it back. If you don't, you don't. But I believe in you, right? She was willing to believe in me when I wasn't willing to believe in myself. Sophie, I want you to stand up. Oh, she's, okay. Well, all right then. She's in the bathroom with the kids, but I wanted to thank her in front of everyone. To my left. Babe, I wanted to thank you in front of everyone for believing in me when I couldn't believe in myself, and for giving me the strength and the courage to continue moving forward despite how hard it gets, and for making amazing children with me and make sure they continue to thrive. Thank you. But here's what I learned, guys. My past relationships, which were absolutely horrible, I'll tell you this much, those are my strengths because they allow me to see what I truly valued in life, right? It showed me that meaningful relationships can profoundly impact one's perspectives and motivations. Meeting Sophie showed me that life's purpose extended beyond my personal ambitions, and it helped me greater define my reason why, which is the driving force behind everything I do. It also reminded me that I wasn't alone in this journey. Now guys, as we worked at the practice company, guess what happened? Experior came knocking, and we finally found our home, right? We can now do business the right way. We feel good about helping others meet their financial needs. We can feel good about the money we're earning because it's not off the backs of others, but because we have the backs of the people that we serve, guys, right? See, at Experior, we had the right access. We went from being in the top 10 of personal producers in 2017, despite only being at the firm for 4 months, to becoming executive directors and six-figure ring earners and then $250,000 earners and senior executive directors. But we've been blessed to help multiple people, and it's because of these people, their growth allowed us to grow, right? We have six-figure earners and executive directors like Tyrone Hines, like Manny Sandu, like Carlo Lopez Toso, right? And as you can see here, man, just the years, oh wow. Throughout the years, we've been able to work with some absolutely amazing people, right? Do some absolutely amazing things. And then our biggest win, Aiden and Adelina. See, that was Aiden. Right in March 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic. Aiden had a lot of health struggles. He was premature. He had an aversion to food. Later on, he had to be on a feeding tube and hospitalized right at the very start of COVID. Man, imagine at the very start of COVID, the most scariest time for many people, your kid now has to be at the hospital and you can't be there with them, right? Only one parent allowed, your wife and your kids stuck in a hospital. That the perception of hospitals at that time was they were the most dangerous places you could be because of COVID, right? Our son, he's a child with autism. And as a parent, during those times, you're filled with so many emotions, anger, fear, sadness, but you have to hold yourself together and fight the good fight because it's not about you anymore, right? I was lucky to have attended a training by Humania, right before Aiden was born. And they talked about how, most childhood illnesses present themselves between the ages of 4 to 6. And that allowed me to put together a policy for him that when he was diagnosed with autism, we got paid out a significant amount of money. And that allowed us to do all the things we needed to do to make sure that our child can thrive. Oh, what did I do there? Right? We were able to get him the therapies, feeding therapy, the behavioral therapy, get him absolutely everything that we could possibly imagine without having to think about how much money we had to spend. And guys, you've seen him on stage, right? Who would have thought he was this kid right here? Right? Guys, life will always throw challenges your way. It's what you do that matters. You have to stay strong and resilient. There are others counting on you. You got to be proactive, not reactive for life. All right? And guys, these were my goals and my dreams, right? And you may resonate with some of them and you may not, but 6 years later, staying confident, plugged in, motivated, we were able to create a life from, being two kids from the hood. My wife grew up in Jane and Finch, right? Not too far away from me, right? But who would have thought that was possible? 6 years later, creating the life, creating the freedom that we never had. See, Matthew Stewart talked about setting goals. Aurelio talked about the importance of having systems and processes, right? Josh DeBass says, do we have a dream? Kevin Pennell told us how to become intimate with our why. And Joe Trozzo told us how important it was for him to celebrate his business successes with his family. Guys, if you've been listening to some of these talks that have been happening the past few days, there's a boatload of knowledge here, right? A boatload of things that I took back, and I'm just like, wow, what a blessing for us to be here and be able to have access to some amazing people. But guys, the cars, the trips, renovating our home, expanding, and now looking to purchase a new home, right? Despite what the interest rates in the mortgage market's doing, guys, all I can tell you is that you joined for a reason, right? You're here today for a reason. Make it a worthwhile reason. Do whatever you need to do to achieve the success that you're destined. There's no such thing as doing too much, but there is something about not doing enough. And I guarantee you, your future self is going to thank you I love and appreciate you all. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for watching. My name is Jamie Prickett. I'm the CEO of Experior Financial Group. And if you like what you saw in that video, that was from our last convention. Well, this next convention coming up July 16th to the 18th of 2024 is going to be absolute fire. It's the Decade of Distinction. And if you haven't got tickets for it, click on the link below. Let's make it happen. We're going to change the world.